Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is bigger than us, to the big mystery, to beyond the veil, to what we're doing here in Earth School, learning all of our lessons and having experiences and evolving and growing. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I love to have these kinds of conversations and to learn through the experience and lens of other people and to help people discover even deeper their own path, whether it's the first piece in your puzzle or the last piece in your puzzle or somewhere in between. I'd just love to be part of your journey. And if you're interested in that kind of exploration, Butterfly Circle might be for you. You can check it out at my website and book a discovery call, carriehummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. And today I have a fabulous guest, Irene Weinberg. Welcome, Irene, to the show.
Hi. Hey, Carrie. So great to be here.
So Irene has had a really powerful life experience based on a true life story, her memoir, her book that she published, which you're going to hear more about it today. Her husband, Saul, died next to her in a tragic car accident. And the amazing messages that Irene received before, during, and after the accident contained a directive from heaven, opening her to a profound spiritual awakening that took her on a healing journey from devastating loss to a renewed sense of inner strength, spiritual wisdom, and passion for life. And so I know a lot of people have been losing their loved ones during the COVID outbreak and are feeling really at a loss and in a grieving process. And so I hope that this episode really helps to bring you some soothing and some comfort in your loss and an opening to a new potential that we're going to hear about from Irene. So Irene, tell us more about your journey. Tell us more about they have Bagels in Heaven, right? Is it?
And everyone wants to know, Carrie. Everyone wants to know, Carrie, if those bagels come with cream cheese and orange juice. And I go, absolutely, and your choice of coffee. So I will.
That's a relief.
I will titillate everyone in our audience by saying that if you're interested in finding out if they really serve bagels in heaven, it's page 8 in the book. Tells you all about the experience. But I was a true non-believer. I thought spirituality was hooey. I was in a traditional marriage, middle-class lady, doing my thing, traditional within my Jewish beliefs, would go to a grave, put a stone on the grave, which is the tradition, say a prayer, but did anyone hear me? I had no idea. And my husband and I, my sister-in-law was very spiritual, and we used to laugh at her. We thought that she was crazy. So the joke was on me in an amazing way, because 2 months before my husband died, and he died next to me in this tragic car accident, but 2 months before he died, I was washing dishes at my kitchen sink, and a really strange thought came into my mind that wasn't my thought. Now, remember, everybody, I don't see things. I don't get messages. I'm like, this is hooey. And all of a sudden, I get this thought, and it says, Saul has to go. Many lessons will be learned from his death. I'm washing my dish, and I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. What the heck am I thinking? And I filled a glass with water, and I went over to my husband. He was watching a Jets game on TV, and I kissed the top of his head, gave him the glass of water, and thought to myself, this is ridiculous. And I put the thought completely out of my mind. And 2 months later, we were on the New York State Thruway. We were coming home from a ski weekend. We live in the New York, New Jersey area. If anyone can't tell from my accent, I'm a Jersey girl. And we were coming home from we had a ski house. And I felt the car go into a really huge swerve. And I looked over, and I saw that Saul was sound asleep at the wheel. And I called out to him. I was like, Saul, and he woke up, and he saw what was happening. And he went to pull the car out of the swerve. We were going 72 miles an hour on the New York State Thruway. And he went to pull the car out of the swerve. And as he did, the car rose up into the air like I was in a gigantic roller coaster. And I pulled my legs up tight into myself. It's like an instinctive thing. And the car started the first of 4 big flips. And as we took off for the first flip, another strong message came into my mind. And it said, he's not going to make it, you are. Well, I'm pretty preoccupied holding myself together as the car is flipping in the air and landing hard each time on the right side. And after 4 flips, we fell into a ravine. We slid into a ravine and the car was upside down. And I looked over at Saul and I said, Saulie, are you okay? And indeed, I saw that what I was told was right. His entire personality was gone. And I was looking at the shell of my husband. Just as I'm processing this, I see a helicopter landing. We held up traffic on the New York State Thruway for 2.5 hours. And I saw a helicopter landing and these EMTs jumped out of the helicopter and came towards the car and turned the car over. And as one of the guys reached into my shattered window and undid my seatbelt and turned me around and began to pull me through the window of my car, as I'm sliding through the window, an unemotional male voice, and I tell ladies, Carrie, I wish I could tell you it was a female voice, but this was a male voice, trumpeted into my head and said, be loving and kind to everyone, as they laid me on the side of the road. It was definitely a heavenly directive. And there I was with my husband next to me, dead next to me, and all of this, and I'm being told, in that moment, it changed my whole way of being. I went from stopping being focused on myself to thanking every single person who came near me, telling them they were a blessing in my life. It was the weekend before Christmas. What's your name? Thank you for coming out. Thank you for helping me. And I'm saying this for a reason. It was about 3 hours between when this happened and they were operating on me in the operating room. They put me in, I was bleeding to death. I eventually needed 2 blood transfusions. My collarbone was reversed inside my shoulder. My right eye had hemorrhaged and I'd lost the ACL from my right knee. But I had also been told to be loving and kind to everyone. And he's not going to make it, you are. So I knew that I was going to survive. I knew something was up, but I didn't, of course, know what it was. And they flew me in the helicopter, I was flown to thank God we took no one else in the accident, by the way, thank God. And they flew me to an emergency trauma center. And this doctor came over to me and he said, we have quite a patchwork quilt to fix on the bottom of your foot. I mean, my artery had been pierced in my foot. I needed 19 stitches. And let me tell you, that stings in the bottom of my foot. And all I could say to him was, I'm so blessed. Thank you so much. I am so grateful. I looked at the nurses. Thank you so much. So much so that 3 months after the accident, I got a call from the surgeon's assistant. And she said to me, her name was Trish, and she said, I have to tell you, you changed lives in the emergency room that night. We had never seen anyone respond to what happened to you. We see things on that thruway all the time. No one has ever responded with love for everyone around her and the way you were. It was amazing. And I said, Trish, I had a spiritual awakening and it changed my life. But I did not know how, Carrie. I just knew that something huge was going on. And 6 weeks after Saul died, I was going through the hell of the earthbound stuff, financial problems with stepchildren, problems with you name it. It was all there, but I knew something was up. And I got a call from my dry cleaner. I'm very, very friendly. And my dry cleaner said, Irene, I wouldn't normally do this, but I don't tell a lot of people this, but 8 years ago, our son died of a drug overdose, and my wife and I were inconsolable. And we were told that there are people, we went to social workers and grief therapists and all, and nobody could help us. He said, then we were told there are people who can communicate with the soul. He said, my wife and I have been to see this person and that person, all he said, and he gave me proof of what they had learned, that their son was on the other side. He said, we're going to be seeing a guy who's going to be very famous one day. And if you come with us, it won't even cost you anything because we've done a little video for him. He's so amazing. So 2 weeks later, I drive up to this dry cleaner's, I'm just out of my wheelchair. I drive up to the dry cleaner's home that's like 3 towns away from mine. I'm in Saul's car, which I'm telling you for a reason said Saul Z on the license plate. I leave the car at the dry cleaners and I get into the dry cleaner's car. And now we drive like 4 towns away to where this medium, and I didn't even really know what a medium was yet, was going to be doing this event. And I walked in and this young man looked at me and he said, I don't even want to know your name. Go upstairs to where people are gathering. And there were about 35 people in the room. This man is so famous today. When I tell you who it was, like amazing. But in those days, he was just starting out. And I was so nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And suddenly he came out and he was like, it was like Saul was waiting for me to see that this was real. He said, I'm getting a guy who told me that he shot himself in the head with a pistol. Oh my God, that's my father. Someone's telling me that someone she knows hung 3 pictures for Christmas, new pictures for Christmas in the house. Oh my God, that's my mother. And on and on and on. All of a sudden, he said, I'm getting a message from someone about Dr. Pepper. Does anyone know what this is? And I nudged my dry cleaner. I said, Joel, oh my goodness, start writing. 15 years before he met me, Saul's brother, who was a big advertising executive on Madison Avenue in New York City, had written Saul's name into a Dr. Pepper commercial. And the commercial was, Dr. Pepper is coming east from California in boats and trains and planes, and let's talk to the man in the street, Saul Weinberg, about what he thinks about Dr. Pepper instead of John Doe or Joe Smith. And Saul used to laugh like crazy about this, and I used to hear the story, but it wasn't part of my life. And what a absolute identifier. And right away I was like, oh my God. He came through with undeniable evidence that no one could know that it was Saul. He's telling me he died in a different state than where you lived. He's telling me you're driving his car with Saul Z on the license plate. That car was parked 4 towns away. He's telling me you're wearing his skier charm under your blouse. He's telling me he used to wear a lot of hats. He was going bald. He used to wear baseball caps all the time. He's telling me he had an amazing, sense of humor. He used to like to tell jokes with accents. Who's Matt? I said, that's my son. Who's Bruce? I said, that's my stepson. On and on and on. And then the one that really knocked me out, Carrie, because Saul had this amazing sense of humor. And the guy who this was John Edward. Today, he's so famous. And this was like 35 people in the room, half of them writing notes for other people. And he said, he's holding up a can of tomato juice. And he's telling me it's about a joke that only the 2 of you shared. Well, when my son was about 4 years old, Saul used to like to joke that Matt was so skinny that if you poured tomato juice in him, he'd look like a thermometer. Now, there was no way that John Edward would know that. I mean, there was absolutely no way. So now on and on and on, and more proof of survival. And now who do I have to talk to about it? My sister-in-law, who I thought was crazy. So I called her up. I said, Carolyn, oh my God, I have to tell you something. And she said to me, thank God, because 2 weeks after he died, I was doing a healing with a healer. And the woman said, there's a soul here who's insisting on talking to you, and his name is Saul. And she said, Saul, why do you want to talk to me? We weren't talking when you died. And his answer was, because I thought you were crazy, but you're not. And I'm on the other side, and I have to get messages to Irene, and you're the only one who's open. And there were messages about business deals that I was grappling with, and about each of the kids. So now I start opening up to this world. And every way he can, he's letting me know that it's him. Describes his genitals to me through someone, his toes to me through someone, the outfit he was wearing the night he died, the first meal I ever made him, the way he kissed me on, okay, I'm sold, yep, Saul, okay, you're on the other side. And now I start getting a very interesting message that everyone, as he comes through, he's telling people, and they're telling me, he's saying that the 2 of you had a soul purpose that was not complete, and that you are supposed to work with him across the veil, and you're supposed to write a book. I'm like, what? What book? I was a violinist growing up. I was a buyer for Macy's, and I helped him in his real estate business. What book? But it was him. So now I got guided to a woman who did automatic writing, and I started asking her questions, and he started responding. And then I got to a point where I wanted to know if we had past lives, and she couldn't do that, and I was referred to someone else. And then I finally found this woman who channeled Saul like he was on the couch talking to you, and she'd sit at her computer, and she'd ask him questions, and he would come right through her, and the book started to take shape. And wow, and it's helped so many people, and people have said to me, it gave me such solace as I was grieving. It has so much wisdom. It gave me help. And then one day, because now I trust messages, I was sitting here at my desk, and I suddenly got a message. It said podcast, and I asked this wonderful gal, Stephanie, who works with me, what's a podcast? Because I'm a baby boomer, you know. And she said, oh, I can help you do that. And I decided that while I was grieving so hard for Saul, because aside from the spiritual thing that was happening on the earth plane, I was hurting like crazy. I worked with a life transition coach, and I also worked with an energy healer. And they helped me work my way through my grief. I said, you know what? I want to interview people who can help people in their grief. So on my podcast, I interview, and I just recently interviewed Carrie, I interview grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and people who have very inspiring stories to tell. And it is amazing how I'm getting messages about how much comfort and solace it is. And we're forming a healing community of people that if you are really stuck, listen to these interviews and find your healer, find your person who can really help you. So that in a nutshell, Carrie, that's the nuts and bolts of my story.
That's so gorgeous. And I read the book. It's a really good book, by the way, everybody. So I recommend you get it in, and it's called They Serve Bagels in Heaven, don't they? That wasn't in your bio, but I think that's, yeah, it's such a good book. What's really interesting about it is that, it is written in Saul's voice, except for the chapters that you write from your voice. And what was fascinating to me is how lucid your translator was, like how lucid the medium was that you used to write, to channel.
She was amazing. She was amazing. And
it's incredible.
Incredible. You know how I knew she was real? Because, you could say, okay, my need was that I had to hear from him. And boy, did she have a great imagination as she was channeling this stuff. But the way I knew it was real was that she said to me, he's telling me that you met him when you were in ancient Israel and you were a little boy and he was your rabbi. I'm thinking, okay. And then she said to me, now she was Methodist. She never heard a word of Hebrew in her life. And she said, I'm asking him what your names were in that lifetime. And she said, I don't understand what he's saying to me. He keeps saying you were such a good little boy. You were just this wonderful, good little boy. And he's saying something, it sounds like Yeled Tov. I said, oh my God. Yeled Tov is Hebrew for a good little boy.
Ah.
Now there was no, right? Okay, this is real. How the heck could she know that? And if he was in ancient Israel and that's what he called me, and then I found out, then she channeled more, and we found out my name was Reuben. I was that boy in that lifetime, and his name was Shimon. And then there's a whole story about how as souls we bonded. And when I got to the other side, I said to him, come on, what form do you want me in? We're gonna do this more, and how many we've incarnated. I know we've incarnated many times, but these were 3 or 4 stories we chose. We incarnated. We've been Italians in the 1500s. We've lived in a pogrom in Europe. I was in Poland when the Nazis came, and then how I ended up in this lifetime with him, and that we had this other work to do. So it's pretty amazing. I'm still humbled and in awe of it. But what's amazing is as I have faith and know this to be true now and follow whatever the steps are that are presented to me, I just let Spirit open the door and then I walk through, because now I have faith that this is real. things keep falling into place. And I know that I'm a light worker who's meant to bring out this information and connect people.
And so you don't currently, you're not able to channel him by yourself, right?
Not
Right.
really. I usually go to mediums and all of that. But what I'll do, and that's what makes it even more believable, because I'm not one of these, I'm not. And the interesting thing is, whenever I do see someone, the information is the same.
I love how you say, I'm not one of these people like
I'm
Carrie.
right.
People like Carrie.
I wish I was. So many times I wish I was. But there's some kind of reason, I guess if I really worked on it, I can hone it. I have a deep intuition and a sense of knowing, but I don't, except for those 3 messages, I really don't have clairaudience or anything like that.
But when that one medium, when you were at her house and she was having that big first channeling of messages from him, like an hour long, right?
Right.
Then you were feeling his presence, right?
Yes.
As if it was actually him in the body. Like,
yes.
I had that experience. I got to tell you, Irene, and I said, just like her, I did the same thing. I said, no more. Because one time I had an experience when I was just opening up my channel and getting going with this, that I was at a restaurant with a friend for lunch, and I had a glass of wine, so that's probably not a great idea, but because it does open you up to some other possibilities that aren't as beneficial. But I was having lunch with my friend, and I'd had a glass of wine, so I was really relaxed. And then he was going through a really hard time, like a really hard time. And I had this energy, like an ancestor of his, come through me and actually like come inside me and start telling him things like, you need to be aware of this and don't forget this, and from the Bible and all this stuff, that I'm not Christian. So I was like, I don't know how I know all this, but it was just coming out. And then I felt her leave, and then there was like a residue, like, and I didn't like the feeling of like a residue from someone. Like, I had to cry and get it out, because it was like,
right, they left you with their energy.
it was weird. I was like, gah. So I don't like that. But so what I do is different. I do more, I channel. So I just listen and translate. I'm a listener and a translator. I'd rather listen and translate, and then I can channel light and energy and bring that to people. And I like that much better than allowing souls to come on inside of me. Ooh. So I don't know.
And I've met a lot of people who like to channel that way. They let themselves be taken over.
If it's an ascended master, that's cool. I have allowed that. Like, I've allowed white buffalo calf women to come, and white eagle comes. And so I allow them. I'm like, oh, you're okay. I'll let you come inside me. I guess it's just more like middle world, more like if they're, because they're ascended masters. So they have a very high frequency that feels really good when they leave. And all of us in the middle are learning how to be like that. So it feels weird if you're in the middle and you leave a residue. Well, they know how to leave without leaving a residue. Like they actually, it feels good when they come in, and it feels good when they leave, and it just feels good when they come in and out. So I am a pampa. What is that? There's a word for it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It's a pampa something.
Wait a minute. I may have
I never remember the words.
Psychopump.
Psychopump.
How do you like that? I happen to have.
I'm so glad you have that. Thank you.
Right here in the moment for you.
I don't know why that word didn't come to me, but I'm a psychopomp, so I can do that. So that's how I channel the ascended masters, is I'm a psychopomp. So they come inside, they do their thing, they do the healing, and then they leave. So
that's really so cool. But you know what's amazing to me is, so like, and it's been a big education. Like, a lot of these people from the middle areas, they have no boundaries. I mean, they'll just come over. They'll just come in, and you don't necessarily want them. I've experienced a lot of times where I've been with healers, and they go, no, you, go away. We don't want you right now. You're not welcome over here. This is not.
You're still processing stuff, and that feels, icky when you leave. Anyway, I love you though, but blessings, but not inside me.
Right, we're detaching with love. So long. Bye for now.
You're still learning. It's okay. Try again. There's a lot of spirits, there's a lot of spirits out there. And I think that, what people don't realize is, like what he was saying, like in the book, what Saul was saying is that you have to go beyond, you have to go back out the veil. Like, if you die, you've got to go to the light. so you can go back around and come back around to be a guide or a mentor. But if you don't go through the light and you stay on this side of the veil, you can get kind of lost. And that's what happened to a lot of souls on the earth. They're sort of like hanging out lost. They don't know how to get back to.
Is that what they call ghosts, Carrie?
Yeah, those are ghosts. And
they don't know how to get back.
The longer you stay, this is my understanding and my experience, the longer you stay in this plane without a body, you get kind of dark. Things get dark and twisted because you lose your light. So you have to go back through the veil. So that's why it's helpful to have either experience yourself, like you know how to get yourself beyond the veil, or somebody who's like looking out for you and helping you cross back over. So like you didn't have the feeling that Saul was lingering around you in a heavy depressed state, right?
No, not at all.
No, because he's an advanced soul. Yeah, he's like I can kind of hear him right now saying like, yeah, haha, I'm advanced.
Oh, you're gonna enjoy it. I'm sure you enjoy. Everyone loves channeling Saul. He's
like, oh,
funny.
thanks for the props. Because but he's been around longer, so he knows how to go to the light. He knows he's supposed to do that, and he does it. He goes to the light, he goes through, he comes back around, and then he can, and now he's learning cool new things he can do with you, which is super. I know he feels really excited about that. And but some people don't know how to do that, so I just want to say that in this broadcast for people who you have that feeling like the person died, and it feels really heavy around you, like really like that dense, heavy, sad, depressed feeling. That is a sign that the person doesn't know how to let it go. They don't know how to go through the light and to the other side where there's actually, they can come back and be with you. Actually, they don't have to leave you. They just need to go through the veil and come back around. And then they can be with you in a lighter way that doesn't hurt them and also doesn't hurt you. So
also, if they've been through the veil and come around, they've had a life review and they have a greater perception and understanding of things. And that's why they often come through mediums and they're saying, I'm so sorry, or they're acknowledging things that went on. I have also been with healers who have helped souls who are stuck to go to the other side.
And I can facilitate that too. I learned how to do that in my school. So I've done that a few times where, especially if somebody dies in an unexpected traumatic way, like a murder or something like that, they need help because they really get caught in denial. Like, what just happened? That didn't happen. No, I didn't want that to happen. I wasn't done yet. I was still in the middle of my life journey and this unexpected thing happened. So that leads the question, it's kind of like you were saying that Saul was midlife. He still had work he was going to do to his mind, right? And then he didn't do it. So he was like, wait a second, there was more we were supposed to do. And so he died. But then actually, isn't it true that this was the way that he would have had to do the work?
Yeah.
And it was planned. It was planned for him to be.
You know what, Carrie? He had 2 minor fender benders before this accident happened. So I always feel that this really was like his exit point. And then, of course, I got the message that confirmed. I mean, they were telling me 2 months out when he was having those minor little things going on, he has to go.
Get ready.
We learned, get ready from his death, which was like, I thought what is this? Now I'm so grateful for it because I see how many people struggle when they have a big loss. And I was blessed in a way with this heads up. It didn't take away from the pain that I had on the earthbound plane, missing him like crazy. But because I now had this new insight, I was open to like an energetic healer who helped me. I was open to healing with this life transition coach. I was open to much more. And I tell everyone that you're hurting like crazy, but use it as an opportunity for your soul to evolve. Use it as an opportunity to get healing. And one of the things that also motivated me was my son was buried on Saul's 21st birthday, which was horrible. One of the things Saul said through John Edward was, the date that I died doesn't matter here. In other words, he was saying, I'm really sorry that I was buried on Matt's birthday, but up here it doesn't mean that much, So he was validating that. But one of the things, aside from be loving and kind to everyone, when they pulled me out of the car on the earthbound plane, the first thing I thought about was, I will get through this somehow, because I have to be a role model for my son to let him know that you can get hit by a grenade in life and come out the other end of it and be okay. And because this awakening led me to healing, my son has said to me, Mom, there's been nothing worse than watching you in complete despair, and nothing better than watching you be able to have joy again.
So powerful.
I mean,
So
wow.
powerful. Yeah. I want to say, like, I want to offer a couple of experiences I've had too, around 2 different experiences with people dying in my life who I really loved. And they're really different. And the reason I want to share it is because there's a lesson in it. So the first thing is that my grandmother died, my dad's mom. When she died, she had a lot of resentment still that she hadn't processed. And I know it's okay for me to talk about it because I've helped her get to the other side. But she had a lot of things she just couldn't let go of. She couldn't let go of it. There were things that were so painful from her life that she couldn't bring herself in the body to forgive it and to let it go. And on her deathbed, you know, the week leading up to her death, I was there trying to help her, like, okay, Grandma, you really got to let it go now. Like, it's important. It's time. Like, this is it. You're going to go through the canal, you know, the death canal, the birth canal, you know, it's the same thing. You got to let it go. My grandma had some hard time with that. And even with that, when she went, there was like a heaviness and a density to the air in the room. Like, it was very thick. It was very dense in that room. On the other side, my classmates helped me to help her transition. And then she was very happy about that because it really helped her give a boost to get back through the veil and to the other side, which is the review, the part that Saul talks about, the review. Now, when my dad died, my dad, he knew he was sick for a long time. He had a leukemia that never went anywhere. He had it and it just was hung out, stasis, you know, like, because my dad was a miracle maker. He just was an old soul. He knew how to do it, you know. So we had the thing. There was a lot of preparation for my mom and for me. Hey, I'm gonna be dying, you know, at some point pretty soon. I've got this thing. We don't know when it's gonna, right? And then when he went from pneumonia, I was like this. It was like a day, and then he was like 2 days, and then he was gone. It was like so fast. It just out of nowhere. He was fine, and then he wasn't. So when he left, it was like a poof of white light, just like whoosh. He was gone. What? But that's because my dad had really he'd really come to terms. He'd done the review. He talked to my mom. He coached her through it. Like, I'm going to be leaving. What do we want for my death plan? What do you want? How do you feel? Let's get you set up. I mean, he knew for a while. So like, he'd prepared everything and he was ready. He'd had conversations. He was at peace. He thought, I had a great life. I loved my life. I learned so much. So can't we all get a lesson from this? That isn't it better to deal with the painful things and forgive while we're still in the body and process than to wait? And even if we do wait, guess what? It's not too late.
Because you can still heal there.
You could still heal there, and then us here can get in touch with our ancestors and our loved ones. Like, you're getting in touch with Saul. Like, you weren't expecting him to die.
No.
You did get the message to prepare you. But it
was still wow. But I want to say something else too, Carrie, that is so important. My father, I had a really tough childhood. My father was very abusive, and I was afraid of him even when he was on his deathbed dying. So there's no way when he died, I always tell people you talk about crust. He had a really tough life, and he had rage and anger, and he displaced it onto his family. So I always like to say that there wasn't a wet eye at his funeral. Everyone was sitting there kind of like, bye, what took you so long? It's like really been tough.
Good luck.
Yeah. So like one of the first times I saw a medium, very powerful medium, after John Edward, she said to me, Saul is here, but there's another soul here who is insisting on talking to you. He's got dark hair on his arm, and he's holding on tight to my arm. He doesn't want to let go. And I immediately yelled, Dad, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you. I don't, because my father was crippled and he would sit in this big chair. And when he wanted your attention, he'd grab onto your arm. And then if you were a kid and he didn't like what you were doing, the strap could come out. So I was like, Dad, get out of here. And she said, he's begging me. He's going to leave, but he's begging me to tell you something. And I said, what is it? And she said, he says that he's watching what you're doing and how you're healing, and he's with you, and he is healing, learning and healing alongside of you. And please don't stop what you're doing. And at the time, my younger brother, who has had cancer 5 times, and he was battling a virulent sarcoma in his left hip. We were always afraid Alan was gonna go. At the time, I said, yeah, and what do you have to say about your son, Alan? And the answer was, some of that is my fault. Please don't stop talking to Alan, and he can heal also. And it was such a blessing and so amazing to me. I still would not invite my father to sit on my couch with me in my home. There's still those remnants of the fear that I had, but on a soul level, I know that he has changed. I know that he's not that person anymore. And I know that he's learning, and I know that when I cross over, we will reconcile and all of that. And even on this earth before he left, I sent him a letter of forgiveness. So I had opened the door to that. So I tell people, Carrie, all the time, which is one of the reasons I started the podcast. By the way, everyone, it's called Grief and Rebirth, and we'll tell you more about it. But one of the reasons I started the podcast is that it is really important to do your healing, and you're even helping your loved ones on the other side. And in addition to that, just to be very simplistic, knowing we come back, Carrie, who the heck wants to meet the same turkeys again and go through the same junk again? Heal your stuff so you don't have to deal with these people who come back with, clean up your karma and clean up whatever you have to do, you know? So like, you're on a different level, and you're in for hopefully a better adventure next time.
Better adventure. I like that. Yeah, there's actually, I've done some powerful work, and I do work with my clients on ancestral healing and forgiveness, because we in our bodies, as I think I've shared with you on your broadcast, in our bodies is ancestral DNA. So all of the stuff our ancestors have not forgiven is in our very bodies. It's in our DNA. We're inhabiting it. So it behooves us to allow them an opportunity, forgive it through our physical bodies, to open up ceremony or in a healing ceremony or something, to allow them to forgive it through your vessel. And so it's a little minor discomfort because you can feel the energy coming through, and sometimes there's little pockets of cold air or something, and it feels kind of weird, sometimes, but that actually lets it clear so that you don't have to carry it around and act from those same patterns, because I don't want those patterns of trauma and suffering. I don't want that to influence my life. I want to have a beautiful life. I want my kids to have a beautiful life. And so I want to clear up these ancestral patterns. And I know that my ancestors were operating at a different time with a different mindset, with different conditions. They did the best they could with what they had. We have more opportunities here because we have more spaciousness. We have more prosperity. We're higher up the hierarchy of needs. Maslow's pyramid of needs. Like we have more potential to do the healing now than we've ever had.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And I really think about that. I even got my mother to, after my father passed, I said, Mom, you could change the legacy of this entire family. And she said to me, what do I have to do? She was very open-minded. She's 95 today, and that generation would normally not be that open-minded. She's right? And she's, what do I have to do? And she actually went to counseling. She understood that she was a battered woman. And she, with a counselor, she met with my brothers, their wives, and me for 5 hours. She paid for it as a way to say, I'm so sorry. I did not know. We found out that my father had a gun in the house, and she had been very afraid. That's why some of the times she didn't protect us the way we thought. And our family started to actually heal. So it extended now to my 2 brothers, and it's extended to their children. And my mother today at 95, when there were periods of time when no one was talking to her, and everyone was so estranged, and there was so much pain. Today, my mother has her children, her grandchildren, her grandchildren, and nothing but love in her life, and respect and honor and all of that for what she did. So I
That's
tell
so
people, what
beautiful.
is the loss and healing? I mean, like, you know, you have to face somebody. It takes a lot of courage, but there's such an upside to it.
There is, and when she stepped in as the matriarch of the family and took responsibility, right, to
Right.
hold the healing session, that's what made the healing, because that's healing the mother wound. That's what I'm writing about right now. My next book is healing the mother wound.
Oh, wow.
Is that we women, you know, we're moving out of centuries of women being denigrated, abused, disempowered, you know, disrespected, into women are like the return of the matriarchy in a balanced way with the patriarchy, right? So,
Right.
and so in order to do that, women have to step into their power and claim responsibility as the matriarch and say, this is my responsibility. I am the matriarch of this family, and I claim responsibility. I had my reasons, let me explain, and I claim responsibility.
Right.
That is so healing, because then everybody else can rest and say, thank you, Mom, thank you, Grandma, for claiming that responsibility, so we can all heal.
That's absolutely true, Carrie. I'll tell you one more she did. She actually financed some therapy for each of my brothers so that any rage or residual, anything that was left over, that they could clean it up.
That's
It's
so
been an
beautiful.
amazing story.
Yeah, and then embrace that healing. And as the mama in the middle, like you are, you did your healing first, and so now you stepped in and you said, you know what, I'm doing this healing, I'm claiming this, and then because you did it, you were a model. Your mom now could step
Right.
in and say, okay, I'm courageous enough now to own that and to do it
Right.
too.
Right. Right. I was my mother's guide. I really said to her, Mom, you have, like when I said to her, you can change the legacy of this whole, and she has changed the legacy of the entire family. It's such a beautiful thing, Carrie.
It is,
That's
because
why
now
I
love is
resonated.
flowing.
The love was flowing. That's why I resonated so much with your book also. I mean, your book and my book they could get married. They have so much in common in what they have to say.
It's so true. So, well, okay, well, this is beautiful. Is there any last words you want to, of encouragement you want to offer people? I know we're getting to the close of our show. Is there anything else you want to offer? And then, of course, any links or anything you want to provide, I'll also
Sure,
provide in
I'd
the
love
show
to. I'd
notes.
love to. So you can get my book, They Serve Bagels in Heaven, and I'd love to get your feedback and say hi. It's on Amazon, and it's also an audio book, so you can listen to it, hear my voice, and all of that kind of thing. And you can find out if they serve bagels in heaven on page 8, and then there's Grief and Rebirth podcast. And I'd love for you all to subscribe to it. You can. Miss Carrie is going to be on it soon, and you can really choose who you want to learn more about: healers, mediums, whatever is going on, and you get all these wonderful insights and enlightenment from listening to it. It's all over social media. It's called Grief and Rebirth, and you can also get it through my website, which is Irene Weinberg, WEINBERG.com. And I'd love to hear from all of you. It would be so great.
That's so beautiful. What a beautiful gift you are. And especially that you're doing all this work in preparation, and you've been preparing, and now here you are with an active service for grief and rebirth, when a time when people are losing their loved ones from COVID, and we're not through the woods yet on it. We're still working through that. This is such a powerful gift for everybody who's really grieving the passage of their loved ones.
Absolutely. I tell people this is a pregnant time to get your healing done. Life is very funky. We're all like, as many people are sequestered and locked up. Well, this is your pregnant time to do your work. Start working on your stuff, using this as an opportunity. And I've known a lot of people who are stuck and bitter, and I know a lot of other people who are opening up and healing. And the difference in the two sets of people, it's just like unbelievable. And as you're healing, you're also blessing your ancestors, and you're blessing your current family, because you changed for the better. and you role model a whole different, beautiful, more loving way of being. And let's face it, life is about love. It's about living love as a behavior. That's what we come here to do, because we can touch it, we can taste it, we can be it.
So
So
true.
especially to yourself too. When they pulled me out of the car and they said, be loving and kind to everyone, that included me too. That includes each of us. Because I think a lot of people, Carrie, are very involved in being loving and kind to everyone else in their world. But be loving and kind to yourself also. Heal, get yourself out of your pain too.
Yeah, because you can be a much better mother. And, you know, for those mothers out there, whether just give, and deplete all your energy, giving. When you love yourself and you have compassion for yourself and you really prioritize your self-care, then you can give such a greater vibration of love to everybody around you. It's so nurturing and nourishing.
Wonderful. And when you're healed, you have a better, it's that vibration. I mean, everyone thrives around you. They love being around you because you're not carrying, I call it that backpack of troubles and drama. You're not carrying it with
Yeah, your
you.
shoulders aren't like hunched over or like dragging down because of all the responsibility that you have, and really being actually underneath kind of pissed off about all of it. You know, as a
Right.
mom, I know that feeling. So it's important to get to a healed space where your yes really means yes and your no really means no, and the clarity creates an example for everybody in your family too.
Absolutely. This has been so much fun and so wonderful.
Oh my gosh, and I know you're about to go see your family right
I
now,
am.
and
I
that's
am.
exciting.
I
So
have
we'll
3 grandsons, and one of them is sleeping over at Gaga's tonight. So,
Yay!
yay!
Grandkids. Okay, well, I hope that you have a beautiful family vacation, family reconnection. And for those of you out there who really enjoyed Irene's message, maybe you know somebody who's lost somebody dear to them. Maybe you are that person who's lost somebody dear to you. You know, go over and check out Irene's website and share this broadcast out with people that you know who have lost somebody, to give them some hope and give them some encouragement that they can still connect with that loved one and they can still receive healing, and you can still forgive. It's never too late to forgive. It's never too late to resolve it. And you better do it soon, you know, so you don't have to repeat the lifetime and have this thing again. You want a different storyline. So like Irene suggested.
I second that emotion.
So, you know, give it a nice 5-star review on iTunes if you can. Give us some comments and reviews on iTunes, YouTube, wherever you found it. Share it out. We appreciate you. And here's some kisses on the way out. Would you like to help me give kisses to everybody, Irene?
Absolutely.
Here come your kisses, everybody, because we love you so much. Mm-hmm. Love you so much and have a great week. We'll see you next week on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now.
Bye for now.